This episode is brought to you by Honda. Introducing the all-new, all-terrain Honda Passport Trail Sport, the most off-road capable Honda Passport Honda has ever dreamt up. The Passport features increased ground clearance, roof rails on all trims, and available specially developed all-terrain tires. And you'll stay comfortable with tri-zone climate control and available features like heated and ventilated front seats and a panoramic moonroof. Learn more at honda.com/passport.
This episode is brought to you by Loom by Atlassian. Are you feeling stuck at work? Get your team unstuck with Loom video messaging and move work forward. Use Loom to simultaneously record both your screen and yourself to share a quick update, provide feedback, train a colleague, and everything in between. Plus, add Loom AI to your meetings for instant written notes and recordings. Try Loom today at Loom.com. That's LOOM.com.
Entering the realm between the hidden and forgotten, a slipstream caught between realities, a secret museum of the esoteric, the private library of shadows, all taking place in a world forged from mystery and caught between logic and myth. You are entering para-reality.
Hello, and welcome to the mysterious world of para-reality. A reality where the unknown meets the unexplained and everything is a mystery. I'm Sandman and I'm your host. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining me here in the Secret Bunker once again for another episode of the Para-Reality Podcast. Man, I've got a great guest on hold. You can probably see her there in the corner. I've been waiting to talk to her for a while now. We've been setting things up behind the scenes and trying to get her scheduled to come onto the podcast, and tonight is the night. So remotely joining me in the Secret Bunker tonight is none other than Miss Debbi Dachinger. And Debbie is a journalist for extraterrestrial information. She's a journalist for shamanism and where they intersect. She hosts an award-winning podcast for the last, 17 years. That's a long time. And she's spoken on stages worldwide. She's a certified Shamanic Energy Practitioner. Hope I got that right. Debbie is also an international best-selling author with iconic books such as Dare to Dream, This Life Counts, or Wisdom to Success, The Surefire Secrets to Accomplish All Your Dreams. Like I said, for 17 years, she's been the host of the award-winning podcast Dare to Dream, and that focuses on topics like ETs and UFOs, channeling, and psychic phenomena. Her podcast has won 3 Positive Talk Radio Awards, the COVR Award for Best Podcast/Radio Show. WELP Magazine named it one of the best 20 podcasts to listen to. And it's a high-ranking self-improvement show on Apple Podcast. And she and I are going to be talking about her UFO experiences, her later-in-life awakening, and her podcast, and a whole lot more. But, of course, to learn more, you'll have to tune in, and find out. But before we get to that, I want to welcome some new followers of the podcast. You know, I have a tendency to just totally slaughter people's names, so I'm going to make the best of this because there's one that's hope I'm going to get it. So it's Mr. Fusion God is what it looks like. Mr. Fusion God, welcome to the Para-Reality Podcast. Righteous Jesse, he's my good friend and buddy of Danger Zone Video right there in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And DFAC Music. Thank you all three for the follow. Now, if you combine all of my social media accounts, I've got over 2,000 followers. So if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't subscribed to the socials already, be sure to follow me there. That's where you can keep up with all the latest goings on with the Parareality podcast. And it's kind of a little bit more intimate look, like behind the scenes. You get to see some of the things that I go out and do here in the Nashville area. You get to look at my beautiful wife, Mrs. Sandman, and what she looks like, and things that I get to do, as well as, my opinions on what's going on in the Nashville area, as well as what's going on behind the scenes with the podcast. I'll be giving you the deets on how you can do all of that later on in this episode. But right now, unfortunately, I have to take a pause for the cause, and we always got to pay some bills. So hang on, and I'll be right back with Debbie.
This episode is brought to you by Cadillac. When you have 4 new tires, every drive feels fresh. Right now, buy 3 select tires and get 1 for just $1 during the Cadillac Certified Service Fresh Start Tire event. Visit Cadillac.com/service offers or see dealer for full details. At participating U.S. GM dealers only. Highest or equal value tire will be $1. Offer ends 5/31/2025. Not available with other offers.
All right, everybody. Joining me on the podcast tonight is Debbi Dachinger. And I know, Debbie, I slaughtered your name. I'm going to have you pronounce that for me when you get on here. She's the host of the 17-year award-winning Dare to Dream podcast, focusing on extraterrestrials, channeling UFOs, shamanism, and cutting-edge spirituality. She's a certified shamanistic energy practitioner, a certified wine specialist. That's very interesting. And she's a lead singer in the band Lions of Lyra. Debbie facilitates powerful private and group shamanic healing sessions, and she's been interviewed twice on George Norrie's GAIA Gaia TV Beyond Belief. George Norrie's Coast to Coast AM. She's also been interviewed on that, and over 2,000 media outlets. Plus, she's spoken at the World Congress Ufology event, Portal to Ascension, Glastonbury UK conference, the Sedona Channel panel, LA Conscious Life Expo, the Lyran Conference, Starseed Conference, Portals at Sea Galactic Origins Cruise, and a whole lot more. Debbie, thank you very much for joining me in the Secret Bunker tonight, for being a guest on Parareality.
Sandman, it's a pleasure to be here. Okay. Thanks for having me.
I realized right as I started trying to pronounce your name that I forgot to ask you how to properly pronounce your last name. Please pronounce your last name properly for me, because I feel bad I didn't do that.
Yeah, it's Dachinger. It's D-A-C-H because it's Austrian. So right. When in Germanic countries, you definitely pronounce it differently. But here in the USA, et cetera, we say Debbi Dachinger.
Debbi Dachinger. Okay, so I wasn't too far off. I didn't slaughter it too bad. I have a history of slaughtering names. I say it in my mind, and I can practice it, and then when it comes out of my mouth, it doesn't sound anywhere near like what I thought it was going to.
Well, I know what you're saying. 17 and a half years I've been doing radio and podcast, and most of the time I remember before I start with somebody. But what I've learned to do, Sandman, is I've learned to phonetically break it down and put it in writing in front of me. Because, something happens when you start speaking, and you lose this remembrance of what this beautiful guest just told you a moment ago. So I phonetically write it out, and then it's golden.
I'll have to try to remember to do that. I've thought about that before. I've just never done it, but I need positive reinforcement. So there you go. Positive reinforcement. Well, like I said, thank you for agreeing to be on my little podcast here. We've been talking behind the scenes for a little while, trying to get this set up. So it's a real pleasure to have you here. I've been looking forward to picking your brain and learning all about you, and having my guest have a chance to learn all about you as well. So you are a very well-rounded, multifaceted person, but you didn't always start out being this shamanistic woman, this person who was into ETs and channeling UFOs and stuff like that. So, what happened? What was the catalyst that brought you over into all of this? How did you get involved?
The way I got involved was, you take the being that I was, who was very, very spiritual and open to channeling and all sorts of very cutting edge energy things my whole life, with the exception, I was a big skeptic when it came to extraterrestrial / UFOs. I was like, ugh, big eye roll. And also about past life regressions, because I'd had a few experiences where a hypnotherapist would put me under-ish and then suddenly say, look down at your feet and tell us what you see. And that was it for me. I was often running in my head. I was thinking, oh my God, do I see sandals? What do I see? It was the worst. So I decided, although I believe in past lives, of course, and parallel realities and multidimensionality, that wasn't for me. So it was a big eye roller when someone wanted to talk about it. Definitely the ET UFO scene for me was like, you got to be kidding. That I did not believe in. And so my life has been a never say never journey. The way this one came about, as spiritual as I was, I started playing around with, let's just say, the consciousness of plants to do some massive healing. And I did it for quite some time. The second time that I did it, I went out of country and I had an experience 4 nights back to back. And starting the very first night, a lot of things happened. I saw sacred geometry, traumas came up to be healed. It was all this beauty that was occurring. And where this all turned around was the divine, literally a beautiful, feminine, powerful, source-like energy, came and said to me, Debbi, you are a shaman, you are a healer, and you are a priestess. And I had no context for those words. I thought, well, I mean, I see healers. There are healers on my show. I have friends who are healers, but I don't see myself as having those gifts. And shaman, I mean, it takes someone decades and decades of dedicated work, near-death experiences, all sorts of things like, So I argued. And she came back every night for 4 nights and said the same thing. It was like a mantra over me. Wow. And then she would show me different aspects of myself that I wasn't aware of and show me glimpses of what she was talking about. I really today, all these many years later, am so grateful, but it was incredibly confusing at the time. I bet. And so 4 nights in a row, Debbi, you're a shaman, you're a healer, you're a priestess. Wow. She was gentle but persistent. I came back to the States and I was sharing with a very dedicated healer, very pro and great at what he does, friend of mine. And I said, man, this weird thing happened. So I shared it and he said, you want to do some sessions and see what comes up? And I said, sure. So he was so good at putting me under, like really good at it. Yeah. He didn't use the methods I described before. And I did go under. And the first time I saw myself as a male shaman, it was an absolutely gorgeous life, a very isolated life, but very at one with the planet, with nature, with the sky, with the animals, all of it. And the second time he put me under, I saw myself as an over 7 foot tall, very skinny Mayan priestess. And I spent a couple of hours with her. And it was a phenomenal experience. I loved who she was. I was blown away and honored that she was an aspect of me. Yeah. And before I left, I asked her questions. And I had a lot of assumptions. And she shook her head and she raised a finger and telepathically said, I am not from here. I am from another galaxy. And so when he brought me out, I was like, boof, oh my goodness. So there's aspects of me that are galactic, that are interstellar, like this ET thing is real. Oh my goodness. And thankfully, I'm one of these people that when I awaken to something, I don't resist it. When I know truth and I feel truth, I have great discernment. And I immediately get really curious and voracious about how can I find out more? So I got on a deep path of seeking information. Fortunately, I've got a great show and I've got a lot of channelers who channel extraterrestrials. So I was able to download massive amounts of information. And at the same time, I'm like, well, I think I'll start just working with shamans. So over time, I found 5 different amazing shamans to work with, men and women.
Nice.
It turns out all from Peru. That wasn't even planned, but it's the Inca lineage, the Quero people. And so I was certified. I've taken so much. I'm still in something. All these years later, I have a great hunger. So Sandman, I went in it for the info. But what happened was I massively changed. And I watched people that I was working on massively change, because this is profound, ancient healing techniques. And it works not just with me as a hollow bone, but with the lineage that comes through me. And the last piece really is that I started getting these downloads and saying, oh, these shamans, and I keep hearing all these stories about how they've always been connected to extraterrestrials. And so I just started sensing there's something deep here. Mm-hmm. And I started getting asked to speak on stages, and I wanted to talk about these downloads. So I did a project, and I invited people like Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, Wendy Kennedy, Lisa Royal Holt, Rob Gauthier, Vita Kokolhoff, Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon, etc. There were 6 different, and Debbie Solaris, Galactic Historian. And they all took part in my project. And what I found, none of them heard each other. None of them even knew what questions I was asking the other person. It was all independent, but patterns started to emerge. And I'm like, oh my God, shivers. I'm onto something so big here. I started learning about first open, undeniable extraterrestrial contact on this planet. I started learning that everything I had received downloads on was absolutely accurate. And so this is where you might say the ripples of who I've become began. This was all the inception that led up to this really, this profound experience right now, very unexpected. I never pitched myself for all the beautiful stages you mentioned earlier, or the interviews, but they just came to me. So I have felt strongly, whether it's the ETs, which sometimes I've wondered if they're my PR agent, or if it's, universal energy or my soul was saying, this is my mission. But I am very honored. I'm very humbled to be a voice for this right now.
You say how it profoundly changed you. I don't see how something like that couldn't help but to, profoundly change somebody. I've never experienced anything like that. So I can't say, oh yeah, I know what you're going through, but I can't see how you could experience that and not be changed in some shape, form, or fashion.
Absolutely. I mean, by mere fact of taking on the journey, saying, yes, I don't know, I don't understand why you're telling me this, but if there's something here, I'm willing to go down the path and just let it reveal itself. And it did, over and over and over again in so many ways. And the change part came from the shamanic healing practices. That was massive. Well, actually, I hear it came from 2 things, but I'll talk about the shamanic healing is profound. I mean, it is so beautiful. It rewires nervous systems. It releases trauma, and it puts people into a state of bliss. That's the best way I can say it. And when you come out, there's a reminder to oneself, we're so in like this record groove of being a certain way. And all of a sudden it alters the groove, and it's a new way of being. And then if you do these sessions over and over and over again, so that's big change. And the other one that I heard was, saying yes, being invited to these huge stages. I just came back from Colorado, being with George Noory again on Gaia TV. Right. And I think it's marvelous. That's all I can say. I'm grateful. I love my life. I love the extraterrestrials, the benevolent ones who have been, I think, really rooting for me. And even my Lyran family, my lion being family that is very dominant in my life.
Do you know of any people who are like you, who've received all this information and this contact from other beings from elsewhere, but they kind of like tamp it down, push it back, and don't accept this gift? like you do? I mean, have you run into other people who are just like, I thought I was crazy, or I don't know what this is, so I just ignore it? Have you ever had those kind of encounters?
The most I've encountered like that, not so much tamping it back, but people will typify. Some of them have had experiences since they're young and knowing. And it's very interesting because of being in mainstream society. They feel like this isn't safe. I have no one to talk to about this. I think maybe I'm off or weird. And so, they just resist it. And then they start coming into a community with me. And a lot of them will say this: I'm really new to this. And I laugh and I say, no, sweetie, you're not new at all. You're just remembering. And you are free to be you and roam about the cabin here. Like, don't hold back.
Yeah.
But a lot of people today, actually, it is this huge, swift woke. And whereas one point in life, I think a lot of people would, bob and weave in and out with the information and like, who am I and all of this. Now today, what I've witnessed is people get the information, they get the download, they're turned on, they go online and they're like, oh my God, they are so from 0 to 100 accepting. And I see a lot of that right now.
And it's funny you should mention that you're seeing a lot of it right now, because I think we are in an era where, well, I know that we're in an era where things like this are a little bit more readily accepted. And I'm not going to say it's mainstream, but it's more mainstream than what it has been in a long time. And the public, the last 4 or 5 years, has been so interested in all of this disclosure stuff, especially with the congressional hearings that they've had. And I think that we are getting closer and closer to, as a global society, to be ready for something, like disclosure, and especially more accepting for things like this as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to add something to what you're saying. This is an and, because it's a pretty exciting and. We may actually beat disclosure. So as anyone who's alive and into this information knows, like, talk about an eye roll with disclosure. Like, really? Like, we know the truth. Stop already. And we have so many whistleblowers out there who have been brave enough to come forward. There will be more. And here's what's amazing. The extraterrestrials, the benevolent extraterrestrials, have made it very well known that they have been speaking to the government, and that they let the government know, look, this is on our agenda, to have first open, undeniable contact, to invite the Earth, humanity, to the Galactic Federation, to the galactic community. It's on the agenda. We know it's within a timeline of 30 years. I'm really hoping the more people who wake up, it only takes 10%, that we're going to lessen that, because God, I really want it in my lifetime, and I want to be, fully present for it. But I suppose even if I pass, I'll have a lot of connections there anyway, right?
So you say a timeline of 30 years beginning when?
30 now. Right now. Okay. It used to be 33. Now it's 30 years beginning now. And we can alter that timeline. As you know, we can change a timeline like this with new choices. So ETs have been telling the government, you need to rush this disclosure thing, because we're not going to wait for you. This is our agenda. We've waited long enough. So they've been put on notice. So you might see some changes happening in that realm over the next 5 to 6 years max.
Well, I've never felt that aliens or extraterrestrials, we'll just call them, really needed the permission from any government here on this planet to, reveal themselves. I mean, I can maybe understand about diplomacy and all that sorts of stuff, but if they really, really wanted to reveal themselves, I never thought that they needed the permission of anyone. They just show up and go, hey, here I am. I've been here for a while. We're ready. We're ready to let you know. So it's funny you should mention that, but I'm glad to know that there is at least a dialogue that has been going on, and they are willing to at least work with us. Because, I mean, you look at, Hollywood and Hollywood's portrayal of extraterrestrials, and usually it's always, oh, they're coming here to take over. You never have the, you never have the feel good movie about what happens when they come and they try to, work with us. And unless you count the day the earth stood still. Yeah.
You know what? It's such a good point. I'm speaking coming up at the LA Conscious Life Expo, and I had some filmmakers reach out to me, and they want to interview me about extraterrestrials and the entertainment business. So here you are. And you're absolutely correct. You can probably count it on two hands, the amount of positive movies. Media is very powerful. And I want to share something exciting that while I was on a plane recently and I'm watching movies, I saw a great movie I will recommend to everybody. It stars Ben Kingsley. I think it's on Tubi, and it's called Jules, Jules.
Yeah,
I don't want to give it away. Have you heard? It's so beautiful, and it is a very positive extraterrestrial movie. Highly recommended. Okay. Little film. Go support it.
I've heard of it. I've seen previews, but it looks fun. But I haven't watched it yet, so I have to put that in my queue.
Yeah, put it in the queue. You'll be happy. But there's so much to say, absolutely correct about what you said. There's only one time that extraterrestrials have interfered. Only one time, because everybody in the cosmos understands that we are a planet of free will. They can't, outside of the Anunnaki, who 450,000 years ago did interfere with our DNA. But that's another story, and they were recalled for that. However, right now, everybody really respects us. Only time they come in, nuclear. So if somebody's got their finger, right, and they're about to do something really estupido, then there will be a spacecraft that appears and they dismantle that nuclear warhead. That's a beautiful thing, and I thank them for that. But otherwise, two of the reasons they have not yet, and the reason why they've been taking time waiting for us to catch up is, one, how they look. Mm-hmm. They don't want to freak us out, and they know we can be frightened very easily. So they're clear. They want those who look the most like us, like the Pleiadians, like the Yael, etc. Probably will be some of the first. And they're going to go slow. And the other thing is, it's not like suddenly there'll be a landing and they march out like we've seen in movies. You have to understand their frequency is so high. It's actually hard for them to be on such a dense planet, and hard for us to almost see them, connect with them. So there will be ways. It may be ethereal, it may be telepathic. There'll be lots of ways in the beginning till we can also modulate our vibration with theirs.
Oh, I keep hearing a lot of people talk about vibrations and modulating and stuff like that. So I want to get into that. I want to ask you about that. But before we do, I got to pay some more bills. So we're going to take a quick pause for the cause, and we'll be back with Debbi Dachinger. I'm so close. In just a couple of minutes. So hang out and we'll be back.
Revolutionize your cooking with the Tefal Infrared Air Fryer. Watch as your food crisps up through a large lighted window and delight in faster, crispier, and juicier results with no preheating, thanks to Tefal's advanced infrared technology. Discover the future of cooking and bring innovation into your kitchen by visiting Tefal.com.
All right. Thanks for putting up with that. Always got to pay the bills. I am back, joined by Debbi Dachinger here in the secret bunker. She's remote, obviously. I wish I could have gotten you here in the bunker, because I would love to have this conversation face to face. But we were talking about, before the break, we were talking about frequencies of modulations and how it's going to be difficult for some of these ETs to kind of show themselves to us. So I want you to expound on that a little bit more, because I think most people like me, okay, when I think of an alien, I think of someone coming from planet XYZ in whatever galaxy, and they're going to come here and they're solid, just like me, and they may look different, but they're the physical part of them is what I am. I can see it, I can touch it, I can poke them, so what, and you're not the first person that I have interviewed that has talked about this frequency and modulation thing. So what exactly are you talking about when you're saying their frequencies are different and it's going to be hard for them to show themselves here on this planet? How is that?
The extraterrestrial races, majority of them are very advanced civilizations. We're pretty new on the cosmic block.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they've been around a long time. They've mastered many things that we have not. Most of them have peace. They don't even understand us killing each other over a border in a country or a different way of doing things or being or color or gender, all of it. So I also want to be clear, they don't look at us like we're preschoolers at all. There's great admiration. They love us so much for our emotions. Mm-hmm. And which is an interesting thing because a lot of people have trouble expressing emotions, but they love us for our emotions. They think that's fabulous.
Yep,
and the next thing is, me too. And also our resilience. I mean, we're an incredible society that when things happen and we get knocked down, we get back up. So they learn from us too. So my mind is saying to go into genetics, but I want to put that on hold for a second. So yes, because they're so advanced and so much way more advanced than us, and we live in an incredibly dense planet, humans, it's very dense to be here. For those of us who identify with being hybrids, with being starseeds, it can be difficult. I'm used to being in a giant lion body, a lioness body, and here I am stuffed into this, and it has been interesting my whole life, getting better and better as I understand this piece. Many people experience that. Vibrationally, where they function, most of them don't even need mouths, right? It's telepathy, the way they communicate. So let me take this a step further when you talk about they're going to look like me. Yeah. They're not, right? They're not at all. You've seen pictures of grays and you know what they look like. Little gray beings. There's not much to the body, dark eyes, nose, no mouth, those sort of spindly fingers, bipedal. But there's also planets that have water beings, real dolphins that communicate, and whales. And there's planets not just with lion beings, with dog beings, with bear beings. There are planets with octopus. Octopus are a very, very highly advanced being set here also on Earth. There's a reason genetically why we see some of the species we do here on this planet. So there would be ways of seeing beings that outside of the first ones I was saying, the Pleiadians, the Yael, maybe Sasani, that would be frightening to people. So they want to go nice and slow. So maybe by the 20th, 30th wave, they can bring on some more galactic community that really doesn't look like us. But the frequency thing is real, and it is difficult for them to come into this. But they will find ways. They'll find ways to do that. So we're abundantly clear they're here. And then trade will probably be a big proponent of what happens, learning and trade.
So are you saying, part of what you're saying is that some of these beings are already here? Because you mentioned the octopus specifically, and there's been a long standing belief that octopus are not of this planet. Are you saying that they were like brought here, seated here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. And so I want to take this a step further, because forgetting about looks, which is a great thing for this planet anyway, for us all to forget about looks and differences. Here's the deal. Let me just genetically share this piece. We are connected to those in the stars. They are literally our genetic brothers and sisters, family, cousins. How? 450,000 years ago, the Anunnaki came here. The Anunnaki were the ones that at that time they deemed to be gods, right? They were giants. And what happened was they were having issues on their planet with their atmosphere. They wanted to find a way to solve it. They saw that Earth had gold, and they wanted to mine for gold in order to bring that back to heal their atmosphere. So they came here, specifically Africa, and they thought, that's a lot of work to mine. Wouldn't it be great if these really brilliant humans, and we actually were very brilliant at that time and lived a very long time, wouldn't it be brilliant if we modified their genetics, dumbed them down, so to speak, so that we can use them as labor in order to get the gold out of the mines?
Very familiar
and that
with
is
that.
what
Yeah.
Right? So they took us from 12 strand to 2 strand. Yes, we did the work for them. Big alarms going out into the cosmos because this is something not supposed to be done. And furthermore, it's really, in a way, it's very comical. It's a very strange history we have. But we stopped living very long. We started dying in childbirth.
Yeah.
We started having all sorts of physical issues. And so because we are so loved and cherished by our benevolent brothers and sisters, they decided to come to the rescues. Now, those naughty Anunnaki were recalled back to their planet by the other Anunnaki who were like, what are you thinking, guys?
What are you doing? Yeah.
Right? Bring them back. And then in comes 5 seed races to donate genetics to us, so that we can turn around our lifespan and start to live well, etc. And so specifically, those are the feline, the reptilian, the bird, the avian, and the high light beings of Lyra. We have thousands of cosmic extraterrestrial genetics in us, but those are the 5 seed races. And so, taking this more towards today, there's something called the Human Genome Project, where these scientists study our DNA, our genetics. And as you know, we have 3.2 billion base pairs, and only 1.5% of that codes for protein. So forever scientists have said, oh, this is junk DNA.
Right.
But as we've learned, there's nothing junky about it. And so the scientists there's several of them who have made unbelievable findings about our genetic connection to extraterrestrials. I'll talk about Makukov and Sherbak, who did this beautiful, brilliant research, and they dug so deep into DNA. They said this shows that advanced civilizations spread life across the whole cosmos, including Earth. And even deeper, they saw that the connection, what was happening in DNA, was you could see mathematical equations in our DNA. You could see hieroglyphs, pictoglyphs.
Wow.
And when they went deeper into that, they said, this is an interstellar message. It actually connects with the rest of the cosmos a little bit as a beacon, but also receiving a lot of downloads. So there is no doubt this is not human DNA for any of us. It is genetically been influenced by our brothers and sisters. So we really are family.
How come we don't hear about this? Because this is the first time I'm hearing about this. Why isn't this public, more widely known?
I think that's why I speak about this stuff, is because part of me wants to pave the way for people to understand, like when they see us, when we see these things, for people who have had UFO sightings or, maybe met an extraterrestrial, and lots of people have, that, this is often your family. They know about you. They're aware of you. So just like on this planet where separation, judgment is one of the worst things we can do to ourselves and one another, so it is with the cosmos to understand, like, mi familia is in the sky.
Yeah, that's a big one to wrap your head around, so.
And you can read the paper if you're interested. It's called the WOW Signal of the Terrestrial, I'm trying to remember, but Makukov and Sherbak wrote it and they published it. So there are papers about this.
Okay.
And you can also read up on Dr. Samuel Chang, also from the Human Genome Project. And it's amazing what these brilliant scientists have finally unearthed.
Yeah, I'll be sure to look that up. You'll have to email me the names, Makukov and
Sherbak.
Yeah, because I don't know how to spell Makukov, and I can't even pronounce it. So, I'll need a little help there.
You got it. I will.
Thank you. So I want to rewind just a little bit because you had mentioned something all the way back at the beginning that I wanted to ask you about, but we were having such a good conversation. I want to mess up the flow. So I don't want to forget about this, but you mentioned about receiving downloads. So what is a download, and can you describe that for us?
It's a very fair question. Well, it's receiving knowings. And for me, it's definitely not visual.
Okay.
It's like information. I know for some people it's zip files. Thankfully, that's not so for me. I've never, because that's a lot. But mine is more, how do you describe it? Just this knowing. So I have a couple of gifts, clairsentience and claircognizance. And so clairsentience means through my senses I know. Through being incredibly sensitive, I know things. So I know things about locations, I know things about smells, I definitely know things about people. And then this other piece that you're mentioning is just these awarenesses that come and inform me about information. And then, it's very exciting for me to have a platform such as what you have and be able to ask people in the know about these things. And whether it's verified or not, I'm more interested in the information. I'm definitely an aggregator, so I love when I'm curious, right, to get the info. It's usually unexpected. I will say that about my particular downloads, because some people know me will come to me with situations and say, "Can you tell me what's going to happen? Can you give me what do you get from that? What's your hit?" And I'm like, "Oh, it just doesn't work like that for me at all. This knowing is profound. It's my friend. It gives me that. It's part of probably my discernment, and it helps me navigate a lot of situations. So I think curiosity plus knowing is a pretty nice marriage to have because they drive each other.
So are these downloads that just come like at random, or is it something like maybe you receive at like in the form of a dream when you're asleep, or, is there some sort of like, I don't know, I'm picturing you, sitting having tea and then going into some hypnotic state for like 30 seconds where you just like staring, while you receive this download, as you call it.
No, I don't go into a trance or a state. I'm very lucid. It sometimes is interesting. Like if I work with, for instance, I still do book writing coaching, and inherently it happens a lot. So I'll have a client in Zoom and we're working together and she start telling me things or asking me questions. And that one in particular, I could tell you because it comes from here and it's above, and it's like having a round table. And there are voices that are telling me things, but sometimes it's a cacophony of voices that all want to be heard at the same time. And they're all brilliant. And sometimes I have to say to the person on the screen, "Hey, if I get quiet, I just want you to know there's a lot of information I'm receiving for you, but I'm totally here. I'm present. I'm not going away." And then sometimes I have to say to them, "Thank you so much. I can only take one at a time. So let me bring up like the first bubble, if you will, that feels really important for this person. Then I'll share that." And we get it done, so that's one. But the other one is just it's almost like an excitement happens. That's another one where just like, I don't know, it feels like being plugged in. And so beautiful information starts coming in, insights, pieces that connect I wouldn't have considered or thought about. And the other one is if I were to hang out with people. That's a really quiet one. I almost never say anything, but I'm getting a ton of information. Even from animals, by the way. I have very good rapport telepathically with dogs, especially.
That's amazing. I wish my dog were in here right now.
I do too. I've got one, but she's snoring.
So I was going to ask you, is anyone telling you anything about me?
See, that's the one that always throws me.
See, and the reason that I brought that up is because you said that people ask you that all the time. You're like, it doesn't work like that. And that's a question that I had in the back of my mind was, what are they telling her about me? So I understand that it doesn't necessarily work like that, but
because it's gears. Do you know what I mean? It's like driving gears, and you and I are in a gear where you're asking me questions and I'm accessing information. I'm not so focused on
you're not in that receiving type mode. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. So we got to take another pause real quick like here, and we'll be back and wind things up. So you guys take a couple of minutes. Well, not a couple of minutes, but take a second or so and listen to this.
Empower. Claire is practicing her breathing for her upcoming yoga retreat in Bali. Has she ever done yoga before? No. But Claire worked with Empower on her savings and investment strategy. She got good at money, so she can be a little bad. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Join our 19 million customers today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risks. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisor Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Om Namaste.
All right, I'm back with Debbi Dachinger. We're going to wind things down here. We've talked about so much. Thanks for explaining the frequencies and everything to me. But we've talked about how you receive your downloads, what that means.
Did you still want to learn about the UFOs?
I do want to learn about the UFOs, and that's one of the things that we've got, like 15 minutes left. And that's the main topic of conversation that I wanted to wind that thing down on was, what about I don't know if you prefer UAP, that's the hot button term now. I still kind of go with UFOs, but what's up with the UFOs? What can you tell us?
What's up?
Yeah.
Well, once I came through that period of time where I was being told things and I saw myself as extraterrestrial and I got curious, they very kindly started revealing themselves to me in various ways while driving on the freeway from LA to San Diego and back separate times. And fortunately, always somebody's been in the car with me, so there have been witnesses. Another time we were doing contact work in Joshua Tree, which is a hot spot for UFOs. And nothing happened, but it was a beautiful evening. We got in the car to drive home. And upon the drive home on the 10 freeway, all of a sudden, boom, at 2 a.m., there is a no propulsion, huge spacecraft. I wake everybody up in the truck. I'm freaking out. And every other truck and car keeps driving. And I'm like, you guys don't see this? What the? And so when we could, we safely got off the side of the road, the freeway, and we all got out and started taking pictures and videos. It was clearly aware of us and stayed just where it was. And then we got back in the truck finally to go back on the freeway safely and then drive home, and it tracked us. And then around the 10:60, it took off
Wow.
There's no words for how fast that is. It just disappears, really. And many other times where we used to do sacred work, contact work out in Arizona. And it's pitch black. And I was always very curious, what's out in the desert? What does it look like? I can't see it. So I use my cell phone and very gently hold down the trigger, if you will, to take a photo, but you have to keep it still because you're not using a flash. And I didn't realize I caught spacecraft in a couple of shots. And another time I thought I was being very artistic, and I took some photos of this tree, and I wanted to capture the stars through the tree. Yeah. But every time I took the picture, I'm like, oh man, my finger keeps getting in there. And then finally, after several of these, I realized, oh, that's not my finger. What is that? So I bring it up and blow it up. And for years, I didn't know what it was. On the very bottom of the screen, there was an orb. I think everybody knows about angel orbs showing up. But this thing was massive. It was milky, creamy white. It had pastel colors going through it. And I used to think, is that a spacecraft? And I was talking to Wendy Kennedy, the woman who channels the ninth dimensional Pleiadians. And I was asking the Pleiadians about that experience. And they said that was a species. They were aware of you. And they knew your vibration and they knew your curiosity. And although they didn't fully reveal themselves, they showed up to connect with you. And I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. And then in my dreams, I have been visited by beings of light who have surrounded me. And I've had a lot of multidimensional experiences, especially while I sleep, where I've left this life for sure and suddenly gone into a completely different life. And when I came back, it happened for months. It was very disorienting to come back in this life and be in this body. And, it was like still the tendrils of that experience were there. Yeah. So, yeah.
Debbi, how can a UFO know that you're watching it? Or, how can a UFO contact you? Because I think most people, when they think of UFOs, they think of it as a craft. It's just a mode of transportation like a car. So how can a UFO communicate with you? How does that work?
Well, when I tell you this, you may be shocked because it's so simple. But I'll tell you, it's not only a way to contact a UFO, an extraterrestrial species, but it's also a way to heal the planet and humanity right now. And there is one place in the body, in our anatomy, and it's right here. It's the heart. So extraterrestrials look for an open heart. They really resonate with that. I have had so many extraterrestrials tell me this over time. So if we can take that long journey from our head, which is great for math and banking and geography, and put it in our heart, if we can do the healing work on ourselves, any pockets where we're still carrying around some issues, and just come from the heart, that's the best beacon. And, speaking of movies, I never put this together, but you think about E.T., that movie where, his little heart lit up. There's really something profound to that. And, I think, anyway, Spielberg was channeling a lot of what he did. So the heart. So if you do contact work, and contact work is great, or you can get the, CE5 app. It's created by Dr. Stephen Greer. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. People do meditations and music and stuff. But there's the one component that will create that experience is the heart.
So just simply believing in extraterrestrial beings and I know that they're out there somewhere and they have these craft. That's not simply enough to initiate them to contact. You have to do the work between here and here.
You really do. And it's not even about belief, because think about how many people, like even me, who didn't believe, and things still happen. So it's not so much about that, but they're looking for an open heart and just, to come with love, to come with openness, to have, let your light shine from your heart. It sounds so hokey, but it's profoundly true. And I've heard this from so many different extraterrestrial species that, it's a pattern, without a doubt, that this is the one thing they ask us for.
And what's the best way to open up, to heal the heart, to open it up so they can contact me? How do I do that? Because I know I'm what I call an open-minded skeptic. I'm not going to believe everything that someone says to me. I like to do my own research and come to my own conclusions. And that's what I encourage people who listen to this podcast to. I present the evidence and say, here's what I have found out. This is what I have learned. You do your own research and make up your own mind. So I am one of the believers. I think that there's plenty of extraterrestrial life out there, but how can I translate that from what I know in my brain to put that in my heart and open that up so I can have an experience. So somebody can come to me and say, hey, you know, I hear you.
Yeah, we need to heal judgment. Judgment is pervasive on this planet. And separation. Our original wound of separation is from source. Our original wound of separation is from our galactic family that we're genetically connected with. And so from these wounds, we do things, right? Maybe the best version of ourselves wouldn't prefer to do that, but we do. And have you ever had a heartbreak?
Oh, yeah.
And so once there's a heartbreak, for everybody listening, we always have a choice, right? We can blame that other person, become a victim, and become very bitter about relationships. Mm-hmm. It's probably not the best path to go. But once we get over the initial pain and shock, then there's a journey, and we can go on that journey to heal from this heartbreak. And this is just one example. If we'll go on the journey, then we're probably looking at stuff within ourselves. What do we bring to the party? Why did this happen? What's going on here? What parts of me don't want a relationship or don't let in love or are not intimate? So I'm giving you this example because if we go on that difficult journey of healing the self and of being very responsible for what we're doing so we can alter the course and maybe not have a relationship like that again in the future, what happens is you just healed your heart, you healed your behavior, and you've softened. I don't know about you, but every time I've been through a difficult situation in my life, and I've been at those crossroads, I have definitely chosen the path of healing, and I've come out softer and more compassionate. My capacity to love is so much grander. And so if people will each individually do that, then collectively we will rise massively. That's how you open your heart, really. To come from love. It's not, puppies, yes. Kitties, yes. Whatever your horses, your animal du jour is, or your baby, right? Think about how you treat them. If you come with a heart like that into contact work, you'll be amazed at what happens. And I want to also say, because I think this is very important, we as humans have every right to say no. So if there is something, because I know lots of people who have had experiences where maybe a being wanted to take them, maybe not bring them back, things that they may not have been comfortable with, even abduction situations, that you have every right to say no, and free will, you'll be respected.
That's very poignant information that you just, it makes me think about some of the things that I've been through in my life and how I've handled it and went down one path when I should have gone down the other. And then by the time I realized it and started going down the other path, it was like, oh, now my life is much better, so yeah.
Exactly. Usually those things, they're really uncomfortable at the time. Why me? And we all go through it, and this is why the extraterrestrials love us. We're so resilient. We're so emotional. But it's perfect. It's perfect for our evolution. We're supposed to become more, and we're supposed to become greater, and supposed to become wiser. And so, yeah, if you make those hard choices, but really take it on, believe for you.
And I think you're right. I think we, as a species, I think we are supposed to become more. And it's just, us getting to that point to where we can all accept that and be ready for the next step, which is why I think that we are on the cusp of disclosures, because I also think we're on the cusp of that next step in whatever our evolutionary process is to become what we ultimately are going to be, whatever that is. And it's not going to be tomorrow, and I don't think you and I are going to be around to see it, at least not physically. So it's going to be a long time. But I think that we're ready to take that next step. And I appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking about that and trying to, let us know what it's going to take to get there. We're running out of time. We got less than, we got about 3 or so minutes here. And I'm going to ask you the 2 questions that I ask all of my guests. So number 1, where can, if someone is listening to this podcast or if they're watching on the video, where can they find all of your works?
Thank you. Yeah, the first place I recommend, and it's pretty easy, it's my name, my website. So go to DebbiDachinger.com. And what's great, obviously, sign up, because when I offer, like I have a 90-minute healing coming up that I'm doing all over the world on Zoom, and I have other programs, and of course my podcast, and et cetera. It's a great way to learn about the events that I go to and that I always invite you guys to. So go to DEBBI, no E at the end, it's DEBBI. And the last name Austrian is spelled DACHINGER, DebbiDachinger.com. I'm also on YouTube at Debbi Dachinger, and you can catch up with my shows and some of those amazing conversations.
And what's the name of your podcast one more time?
Dare to Dream with Debbi Dachinger.
And that's on all podcasts?
It is. I'm on Spotify. I'm on YouTube. I'm on 2 radio stations, including 102.7 FM in New York. And then I'm on every major podcast site, including Apple Podcasts. So yes, you can find my show anywhere. Don't just type in Dare to Dream, because I think like Disney shows come up, but it's Dare to Dream with Debbi Dachinger. And
with
then
Debbi
you'll be
Dachinger.
in the
Okay. And that's, I apologize for running out of time. I wanted to talk about your podcast, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about the shamanistic work that you do. So I would like to maybe get you back on in the future so we can talk about that, because those are 2 things that I really wanted to talk about. So yeah, if you're willing to come back on, I would love to get you back on to talk about those 2 things.
It's a deal.
The second thing that I wanted to ask you, if there is someone, once again, who's listening to this show or watching the video, and they need a little guidance, or maybe they've had some sort of experience and they need someone to talk to, how can they get in touch with you?
You know, that's so beautiful. This class that I'm opening up, there's a 5-week class. Again, my website, DebbiDachinger.com. And it's DebbiDachinger.com. Go there, click on the contact, and also sign up. If you need someone to talk to, beautiful, because the class, first of all, I am offering a free Q&A with me coming up in a couple of weeks. So do sign up, because that's how you'll learn about it. And so I do free webinars here and there to connect with people. And then the last thing is this program I'm offering that's starting in February. It's 5 weeks. It's on Wednesdays. It's me with my peeps. So you can be one of those peeps. We're talking about all of this, shamanism, extraterrestrials. We're going deep. But with every session, I always put aside time for Q&A for us to get to know each other. Building community is everything.
Great. And I'll put links up and everything on my website and all that. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking to me. I really appreciate it. It's been a very eye-opening experience.
Thanks for the good work you do. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And we will get you back on soon. Everybody, this has been Debbi Dachinger. You can find out all about her by going to her website, DEBBIE.
No E.
No E. See, I screwed it up. Tell them again. Do it again so I don't screw it up.
So think of a ribeye steak. It's DEBBI, no E. DEBBI, and the last name, even though it's Dachinger, it's Austrian, so it's DACHINGER.com.
And that's how you can find Debbi. Once again, Debbi, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been a great pleasure, and I will get you back on again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that about does it for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And once again, I want to thank Debbi Dachinger for being on the Para-Reality podcast. To find out more about Debbi, you can visit her website, DebbiDachinger.com. That's DEBBIDACHINGER, DebbiDachinger.com, or listen to her award-winning podcast, Dare to Dream with Debbi Dachinger, which is available wherever you get your podcast. You can also find her books on Amazon. The quickest way to get her is the website, DebbiDachinger.com, DebbiDachinger.com. Thanks again, Debbi, for being on Para-Reality podcast. And before I close it out, I got one more thing for you here. If you'd like to leave a comment about tonight's episode of Parareality, have an idea for a topic you'd like me to cover, or a story you'd like to tell, send me an email, sandman@parareality.com, or call the Secret Bunker at 615-692-1170 and leave me a message. Don't forget that by leaving me your message, you're giving me permission to play your comment back on the podcast. Also, don't forget to follow Parareality on social media. You can find the podcast on Facebook by looking for sandman.parareality, or you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram under the username @ParaRealRadio. You can also find Parareality on YouTube under the username Parareality1. That's Parareality with the number 1 out behind it. Parareality.com is the home of the podcast on the web, and it's also where you can find paranormal news from all around the world in the Para News section. And you can listen to past episodes in the archive section, all for the price of absolutely nothing. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can buy yourself some swag in the official Parareality shop while you're there. You can also support the podcast for free by leaving me a 3-star or better review on whatever podcast app you're listening on. Your reviews help the podcast to grow and reach even more people, and I would appreciate it very much. I'd love to hear from you guys, so send me those emails. Thank you. I'm pleased to say that I have relaunched my official Patreon page. Guys, for as little as $1 a month, you can get commercial-free episodes of this podcast along with some other bonus content. And for just a few bucks more, you'll also have access to not only the commercial-free version, but you'll get my companion podcasts, Midnight Syndicate and A Deeper Dive. Plus, you'll also have the opportunity to appear as a guest on the podcast. Subscribing to my Patreon not only helps support the podcast, but it also helps me to continue to bring you quality content on a regular basis. I know I've said this before. I'm going to keep on saying it. I don't make money off of this podcast. It costs me money. Every little bit of money that I earn from Patreon or merchandising sales or, the commercial stuff, it goes right back into the podcast, and I don't even make enough to cover expenses. So anything that you can do to help me continue to bring quality content like this is great. Now, if you're not a joiner of things like Patreon, I get it. I totally understand. But I'm going to tell you this, that they do have a 7-day free trial. So even if you're not a joiner, why don't you go on over there to patreon.com/parareality. Do 7 days for free. It won't cost you a dime. See if you like the content, and if you do, then maybe you'll like it enough to subscribe, at least to the the $1 a month option. That's $12 a year. That's not a lot. So any little bit that you can do would be great. And I'm really not in this to make money. I'm not expecting to be like Joe Rogan or anything like that. It'd be nice for someone to pay me to do this, but I know that's not going to happen. But really the reason I do this is because I enjoy it, and I want to tell the stories. I want to present my side of things, and I want to provide you with some, I call it infotainment. It's entertainment, but it's also informative as well. So my goal is really to get into as many ears as I possibly can to grow the podcast. So the easiest thing that you can do to help me support the podcast is really nothing that's going to cost you any money. All you got to do, whatever podcast app you're listening on, especially if it's Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts, is just leave me a 3-star or better review. That's all you got to do. It costs absolutely nothing, and it takes less than a minute to do. I would greatly appreciate it. Leaving me a 3-star or better review is going to help the podcast grow and help get it into more ears. And that's really ultimately what I want to do. And just in case you haven't heard, the Parareality Podcast is returning to the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival this May, which is just a couple of weeks away from now. And man, I'm really excited to have been invited back as a podcaster again this year. Last year was the first time that they had podcasters there, so I was part of the inaugural podcast crew. I don't know how many of us are going to be back, but I know I am. And I had a really great time meeting everybody and collecting their stories last year, and I can't wait to be able to do this again. I'm really excited about this. So, hey, look, if you want to go to a Bigfoot festival, especially one as unique as this one, this big outdoor festival, or if you need a weekend getaway, Townsend, Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains, best place for it. I can't think of another way better to spend your weekend, especially if you're into the paranormal and weird stuff and cryptids and stuff like you are if you're listening to this show. So come on down to Townsend, Tennessee on Saturday, May the 3rd, and join us for the ultimate legendary family reunion at the 2025 Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. Bigfoot is bringing along some special guests, his legendary cousins, Yeti, Mothman, Dogman, and more. Bring the family. It's a family event. Enjoy a day filled with live music, tasty food trucks, and unique vendors offering collectibles, celebrating these legendary figures. Plus, you'll get to watch epic competitions, hear from famous Bigfoot researchers, and take a deep dive into the mysteries of these mystical creatures. Like I said, bring the whole family. It's a family-friendly event, and it's in a beautiful, beautiful location in the Smoky Mountains. I'll have my tent set up wherever the Podcasters Row is going to be. So if you're going and you've had some sort of an unusual experience or of any kind, stop by and tell me your story and get it on the podcast. It doesn't have to be cryptids. It doesn't have to be I saw Bigfoot. It can be I saw a UFO. I was abducted by a UFO. Something about ghosts or hauntings or any kind of weird, unexplained, unusual event that you may have had. I want to hear about it. Stop by my tent and tell me your story. Get it on the podcast. I collected so many good stories last year, and I'm sure I'm going to get a ton more this year. It's going to be great. And even if you're going there and you don't have a story to tell, stop by the tent anyway, just to say hi. I'd love to meet you guys. If you listen to the podcast, you don't have to come by to tell me a story. Just stop by to say hi. I'll have a little merch to sell, some t-shirts and stuff, but that's not really the reason why I'm there. I will be there to collect stories for the podcast. So if you're going, please stop by and say hi. Or if you've had some sort of weird experience, stop by, tell me your unusual experience, get it on the podcast. If you want to go, tickets are still available. You can get them at thebigfest.com. That's thebigfest.com. Of course, you can always try and get them at the day of the event, but I suggest getting them prior to. That's at thebigfest.com. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's episode of Para Reality. The next episode is going to drop the day before Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival, May the 2nd, 2025, at 8 o'clock p.m. Central U.S. time. So make sure you tune in, and find out. I got a really good episode in store for you. Something that is a little out of the norm for this podcast. I don't always do it. I have done episodes like it before, not a whole hell of a lot, but I'm really excited to bring this episode to you. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet. I'm going to let it be a surprise. So make sure you tune in, and find out. May the 2nd, 2025 at 8 p.m. Central U.S. time. I hope this podcast opens your mind up to new ways of thinking, expands your consciousness, and produces a change in the way you see the world. If you wish to change, you must lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe. I hope you have a wonderful evening, a great weekend, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks on May 2nd, and hopefully I'll get to see you at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. I'd love it if you guys would come by and say hi. Good night, everybody.
If you wish to change, you must first lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe.
Hey, it's not over. Thanks for sticking around. I got something to tell you. Do you want to be a member of the Secret Sanctum? Well, if you do, there's only one way to do that. Somewhere on parareality.com is a link hidden in my website. And if you can find that link and click on it, you'll be granted access to the secret bunker, and you'll become a member of the Secret Sanctum. It's 100% free. It's not going to cost you anything. And once you become a member, you'll have access to some secret audio files and secret documents, some of which are exclusive only to Parareality and the members of the Secret Sanctum. You'll also get a free Parareality Secret Sanctum t-shirt. Just fill out the form and let me know what size you are, where you're located in your name, and I'll get that right out to you. So if you want to be a member of the Parareality Secret Sanctum and have access to the secret bunker, find the link.